Hey guys, so today I want to add more content to this channel. So today I want to do an unscripted review of Dune, which I saw last Monday in the movie theaters, which I think is how it should be viewed. Yeah. So since this is an unscripted review, I'm gonna say and any other filler word a lot in this. So that's what I do in any video. I'm surprised I held the previous review for so long, but today it's just going to be a lot of undisciplined thoughts. They're not going to really be connected in any sort of portion, but let's just, let's begin. So basically the story of Dune follows Paul Atreides, a member of the Atreides dynasty, or household, or, like, I don't know, house. Yeah, it's House Atreides. And basically, they rule over Caladan and a couple other planets, I think, but Caladan's their home world. And they're sent by the Emperor to take control of Arrakis, otherwise known as Dune, a barren wasteland with only a few people living there, known as the Freemen. Now, the Harkonnens, who they're taking over, are known as kind of like antagonists. They don't really have any character to them. They're just kind of evil. But basically, the Emperor of the galaxy, known galaxy, is a known universe. I have no idea. But he's doing this because he's threatened by the patriarch of House Atreides, Leto Atreides, and Leto Atreides doesn't seek. I don't. But all the other groups, because he's really popular, want him to take the throne. So because of his pride, the Emperor is trying to send him to Arrakis as a death sentence, so the Harkonnens can kill them off pretty easily, or they'll fight each other in a civil war, because the Emperor isn't necessarily sided with the Harkonnens. So now we got that out of the way. That's kind of the preview to it. So we follow Timothée Chalamet's character, known as Paul Atreides, throughout this, and they get ambushed midway through because of a traitor in the family. I forgot. Well, she's gonna be watching this review. There's a spoiler, but there in the book there's a traitor anyways. So I'm just gonna say spoiler warning from now here on out. Yeah, okay. But you'd expect an action scene anyways. So essentially, what happens next is with Paul's character, he has a bunch of visions and dreams of different occasions happening, and it keeps going back to Zendaya's character Chani, with very surreal dream sequences. I don't think these were much in the David Lynch version, but there's a lot of them here. And basically, once this ambush happens, basically a lot of characters are killed off. And the Harkonnens are sort of depleted, but Atreides has basically been wiped out. So Paul and his mother go to try and find the Freemen. And a couple more people sacrifice themselves to help them. But basically, they go and try and find the Freemen. But Paul's wary of this, even though he does want to do it, because he's seen visions of basically a jihad, which, religion, conquest, and he thinks he's going to cause a bunch of war and suffering. So that's how the movie kind of is. It's a very slow, lot of conversations. It included almost every scene from the book, which is really surprising. So first section I want to do on this is the acting. All the actors are supreme, because when you get a movie that has this many A-lists, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, Jason Momoa, you're going to have pretty good acting and very, very charismatic characters. And they all fit their services really well. I think they changed Jessica a little bit, but mostly they stay very true to the book, and I really enjoyed how they portray them. There's sort of an allowance of kind of coming from the David Lynch stuff. Like, the Mentats are very similar, and they're also very quirky. And I don't like using the word quirky, but they're charismatic, I guess. They're just very unique, because they have the weird eye thing where it goes like, I can't do it. But it's interesting how they do that. Sorry, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård does a very interesting job as Baron Harkonnen. So they said, I mean, how do you make like a weird floating guy scary? But they were able to make him kind of intimidating, I guess. Yeah. So, and I was actually really impressed by Timothy Chalamet because he did actually a perfect interpretation of Paul from my view. Since I read the book, it took me 6 months to do, but I just really loved his. You added a bunch of drama to it because Paul's character isn't that interesting, and he seems kind of, just like kind of like a spoiled child or something. Even though he does get a lot of training and secret training from his mom, who's obviously a Bene Gesserit. But you see him kind of get all these visions, and like he's worried for the future, and like he's very socially distant, and he's kind of edgy. I don't know, but yeah, I just really think all the actors did a really great job of portraying the characters, and especially Javier Bardem, who has a really serious and like deep portrayal. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to communicate. He's like. He's what I imagine Stilgar would be like. That's you can't say so many things about acting. I don't think there was any method actors in this, so there's that. So next I want to go to locations. Locations, obviously most of it's Arrakis, but I really like this kind of like. It felt almost like strategical to me. So basically, like how like if Dune was a board game, basically like. It felt so like organizational because the Emperor is putting all these groups into different sections, and it's like it's like a medieval type thing when they're in the city, at the first part before the ambush, and they just and it looks very interesting city. It's like underground kind of. I don't think because I never envisioned that part. I always envisioned it as a pretty wide base, but I never envisioned it that big, and it's an added on to a thing I'll discuss later. But Giedi Prime, for like the 5 minutes it shows up, it looks amazing. It's just everything's so creative, even okay. Even though there isn't much, I don't know, any type of. There's not much variety. They really make Dune feel so alive and just have a bunch of. Have the spice really be invigorated quite nicely, and you feel like how everything looks, and it just looks like it makes a desert, which is probably most people die in, with sandworms crawling through it, and looks really appealing at certain points, and then looks intimidating when it has to. So then I want to talk about cinematography, which is kind of an extension. Well, no, location is an extension of cinematography. I mean, it's Denis Villeneuve. I used to think it was called Denis Villeneuve, but I mean, what do you expect? Every shot from this movie could be a screenshot, like, and could be your home screen or something, because it's grand. It's a modern sci-fi epic. So it keeps you so much in the story because everything looks so beautiful, so amazing, and I can't really say much more about it because it speaks for itself if you watch the movie. And I guess we have characters. I think I already talked about this in acting. I think everyone. I really like the character of. What's his name? Oh yeah, I just always find the character name Duncan Idaho so funny because you have all these like weird sci-fi names and then just Duncan Idaho, which I guess could be inspiration from like Earth, since obviously it's Dune's set way farther in the future, so you'd still have preservation of some cultures. I really like Oscar Isaac. He's very great in the role. Great, like in terms of like grandness. Like you respect you can see why people respect him as a leader, and the final scene when he's about to get his revenge on Baron Harkonnen, well, you feel kind of bad, but you're like, hey, at least he went out that way, which, because, they killed him off so early. But then there's no one else really stands out to me. I'm interested who they're gonna cast for Feyd-Rautha, which is basically the son of. I'm pretty sure it's son, because the son is Raban and the nephew is Feyd-Rautha. I heard like maybe Ty Sheridan, but that's gonna be interesting. Then there is. I cannot think right now, because I'm trying to connect this all back to the theme that I just really think that Dune is like an amazing movie for this point, because in this point in time, like everything's going on streaming, right? And everything, I know it's taking me 11 minutes to get my main point, so that's kind of bad. But Dune is such like it's like a Lord of the Rings. Like, I know that's what people have been saying, but it's so rare in this day and age to just have a movie like this where it's sprawling, it's epic, it's just so much of what you would call a masterpiece, which were so common back in the day. I'm not saying all movies are bad now, because I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just saying it is rare to find a movie which is so focused on like landscape shots and all this stuff, and I just really appreciated that it came out at this time and I get to experience it. And story, I already said the story, but I know some people are saying like it ends off at a bad place. I actually think it ends out on a decent place, which is at that fight with Jameis, which gets him killed. I think I don't see any other place. That's like the perfect midpoint way. And that he's with the Freemen, and they're gonna have a great. This was the needed part 1 and part 2. You can't stuff this in, and they made it sure that you could include every scene, so you get so much depth to the characters. I thought they should have added a little bit more to Yue, but other than that, like most of it is really interesting, and I'm glad to have seen this part from the book and seen this part from the movie and how it's portrayed, and it's it's a joy watch. So I know I don't know why I just did this for 12 minutes. I need to invoke my happiness that this movie was created, and most of this has just been kind of a simple review, but more of it is just my appreciation for the team behind this movie that made something that speaks of older ages and just defined a new way of blockbuster, because it made pretty good money for we're still sort of in pandemic, so good job, guys. I don't know, so yeah, I guess it's Dune, 10 out of 10.